The princess hummed a song. When I joined in, she froze. Nobody knows this. The palace was quiet, very quiet. Tall walls of pale blue stretched high, catching the soft light of the twin suns outside. The floors were smooth and polished, reflecting the long shadows of the columns. Few people walked here. Most of the servants stayed in the lower halls, and the nobles only came during the official hours of the day. Princess Ilara liked it this way. She liked the quiet. It made her feel calm. It made her feel free. Ilara walked alone, her bare feet making soft sounds against the polished floor. She carried a small crystal in her hand. The crystal glowed faintly, and its light changed colors as she moved. She liked to carry it when she walked alone because it reminded her of her childhood, when the palace had been full of her parents' laughter. Now, those days were gone. Her parents had passed many years ago, and she was left to follow the rules of the royal court. She loved her people, but she hated the rules that kept her from simple joys. Music was one of those rules. In the palace, music was forbidden in public halls. It was considered sacred and private, meant only for the royal family. Nobody else could hear it, and even the princess could not play it outside the private rooms. That rule had always made Ilara sad. She loved music. She loved its way of moving her heart, its way of speaking when words could not. Sometimes, when the halls were empty and the guards were far away, she hummed. She hummed softly, barely loud enough for herself. Tonight, she hummed an old song, one that had been taught to her by her mother when she was a small child. She did not think anyone could hear. Luke Carter moved slowly along the corridors nearby. He was human. He had been assigned to the palace to maintain the communication systems. The humans in the Galactic Council were allowed to help the alien races with technology, and Luke was the newest member of this small team. He was young, curious, and careful. Most humans would have felt out of place here, in this strange alien palace, but Luke liked learning. He liked quiet places, empty corridors, and machines that hummed with life. Tonight, he was checking a panel near the edge of the royal hall, making sure that the data lines were clear. The panel made a small noise when it opened, a gentle beep that he did not hear over his thoughts, but then he heard another sound. It was soft, delicate, and strange. A voice, not a voice like the guards or the servants. It was musical, almost like a wind moving over glass. He froze, his ears strained to hear. It was a song. He recognized it immediately, though he could not explain why. It was a human song. An old folk song, one he had heard from his grandmother when he was very small. He could not believe it. The melody was almost identical to what he remembered, even though it had come from an alien princess in a palace far from home. Ilara did not notice Luke at first. She hummed again, and the crystal in her hand glowed slightly brighter. She closed her eyes and imagined herself outside in the gardens, where she had once played with her friends. She remembered the warmth of the sun, the smell of flowers, and the sound of water running in the fountains. Her humming grew louder, and for the first time in many months she felt happy. Then she opened her eyes and saw movement at the edge of the hall. A human was standing there. He did not look like the usual workers. His clothes were simple. His hair was dark, messy, and his eyes were wide with curiosity. He looked at her and she stopped humming. For a moment she froze. Nobody was supposed to hear this song. Luke stepped closer but slowly. He did not want to scare her. He opened his mouth and the words he did not say were, "I know this song." Instead, he hummed. Softly at first, matching her melody. He was careful, but he could not help smiling. He had not expected anyone to know the old human song, and yet here it was, in the voice of an alien princess, humming a song he had almost forgotten. The notes matched perfectly. It was impossible, yet it was happening. Ilara's eyes grew wide. Her lips parted slightly and she stopped moving. Her heart beat fast. Nobody outside the royal family had ever known this song, not a single person. It was a secret, a memory kept only by the royal line. How could a human know it? The thought made her nervous. She wanted to pull back to hide to call the guards, but something in Luke's calm face made her pause. He did not look like a threat. He looked amazed, curious, interested but not dangerous. She tilted her head, watching him. He hummed again, this time with a slight smile. The sound was almost human, yet it blended perfectly with the melody she had known all her life. Luke took a small step forward. He spoke carefully, his voice low, not wanting to scare her. "It's a beautiful song," he said. I know it, from a long time ago." Alara's eyes narrowed. She took a deep breath. "How do you know it?" she asked. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. She did not know if she wanted the answer. She felt fear and curiosity at the same time. Luke shrugged. "It's a human song. My grandmother used to sing it when I was a child. I never thought anyone else would know it." Alara's mind raced. A human from another world could remember a song that only her family had ever known. It should have been impossible. The rules of history said that humans and her people had been enemies long ago. Any shared knowledge from before the wars should have been lost. And yet, here was a human humming her private song. She took a cautious step closer. "Sing it," she whispered. "Sing it fully. Only then I will know if you truly know it." Luke nodded, careful not to make sudden movements. He began humming again, slowly at first, then with confidence. The melody rose and fell, gentle and strong. Alara listened, her eyes wide, her breath coming in soft gasps. Each note matched what she remembered from her childhood, but with a subtle twist, something different from how her ancestors had sung it. It was human, yet it was hers too. The sound filled the empty hall. It echoed softly against the walls, creating a strange, warm feeling in the air. For a moment, all rules, all fear, all danger seemed to vanish. Only the music remained. Alara felt tears prick her eyes. She had not realized how much she had missed this song, this melody, until now. She had been lonely in the palace, trapped by rules and duties. But now, with Luke humming beside her, it felt as if the walls themselves were opening. When the song ended, the silence that followed was heavy. Both of them stared at each other. Alara's hands were trembling slightly. Luke's eyes were wide with wonder. You really know it," she whispered. "I do," he said simply. "I don't know why, but I remember it. I guess humans keep old songs alive without even knowing it." Alara swallowed hard. She did not know what to say. Fear, curiosity, and amazement fought inside her. She could not yet trust him. The palace rules were clear. Humans were outsiders. Humans were workers, technicians, helpers, not people who could know the royal secrets. And yet, she felt something she had not felt in a long time, hope. She looked at him carefully, her mind racing. "Nobody outside my family has ever known this song," she said slowly. "If anyone finds out, it will be dangerous for both of us." Luke nodded. "I understand. I won't tell anyone, I promise." For the first time, Alara smiled. Not the polite smile she gave to nobles or servants, not the forced smile of a princess under rules. A real smile, soft and full of relief. "Then," she said, "you will have to meet me here again, quietly, so that we can share the song." Luke nodded again, excitement hidden carefully behind calmness. He had never expected that coming to a strange alien palace would lead to this. A secret, a song, a connection with a princess. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. This was not part of his mission. This was not part of the rules, and yet it felt right. Alara watched him leave first, moving silently toward the corridor that led back to the servants' quarters. She stayed for a moment longer, humming the song quietly to herself, letting the sound linger in the empty hall. The crystal in her hand glowed softly, reflecting her quiet joy. The palace was still quiet, but it was not the same quiet as before. There was now a new presence in the silence, a new possibility. The princess and the human had found a secret. And secrets, once shared, could change everything. The next morning, the palace was quiet again, but not the same quiet as before. Princess Alara woke early, as always, and walked along the same halls where she had hummed the secret song. The sunlight from the twin suns fell in soft lines across the floor, lighting up the crystal in her hand. She remembered the human who had hummed with her the night before. Luke. She could not stop thinking about him. His voice, soft but confident, had matched her melody perfectly. How could that be? Alara had spent hours in her private chambers trying to think about it. The song was sacred. It had belonged only to her family. Nobody outside the royal line had ever known it. And yet Luke had known it. Not just a little part, but the full song. The memory of it in his voice felt strange and warm, almost alive. She wondered how much humans remembered about the old times before the wars, before the kingdoms fell. Luke moved carefully through the corridors. He had checked all the panels that morning and found everything working perfectly. But his mind was not on the panels. It was on the princess and the song. He had never met anyone like her. She was a princess, yes, but she was also curious, brave, and kind. Her eyes had a light in them that made him feel as if he could trust her, even though they had just met. And the song had touched him in a way he could not explain. Later that day, Alara returned to the same hall. She waited quietly, hiding behind a tall column. She was careful. She did not want anyone to see her. The palace guards walked past at their usual times, their steps heavy and echoing. She counted them, making sure the hall was empty. Then she waited. Luke appeared a little after midday. He moved slowly, glancing around as if he were nervous about being seen. He carried a small bag with his tools, but he kept them closed. When he saw Alara, his eyes widened slightly. She stepped out from behind the column and smiled softly. "You came," she whispered. "I did," Luke replied, his voice low. "I wanted to make sure no one heard us. I did not want to risk it yesterday." Alara nodded. "I was afraid too, but I want to hear the song again. From the beginning, the full melody." Luke took a deep breath and started humming. At first softly, almost like a whisper. Then the melody grew stronger, clear, and full. Alara listened, closing her eyes. Each note made her feel alive, like the first time she had heard it as a child. Her fingers brushed the glowing crystal in her hand, and the light pulsed softly in rhythm with the music. When the song ended, Alara did not speak immediately. She just stared at Luke. Her mind was racing. This human had brought the song back to life. He had sung it with feeling, with memory, with something that felt almost sacred. It was impossible. And yet here it was, alive again in the empty palace hall. "How do you know this?" she asked finally. "I don't know exactly," Luke said. "I only remember it from my grandmother. She used to hum it when I was small. I thought it was lost. I thought only my family remembered it." Alara shook her head slowly. "It should not exist here. It is our song. Only my family has ever sung it. How could you know it?" Luke looked at her and shrugged. "Maybe humans and your people shared it a long time ago. Maybe someone taught it to someone else. I do not know. I just know I remember it." Alara thought about what he said. Could it be true? Could humans and her people have had a connection long ago, before the wars and before the kingdom split? It was a thought that made her heart beat faster. Maybe humans were not as different from her people as everyone believed. Maybe they were not enemies. "I want to show you something," Alara said suddenly. She moved quickly and opened a hidden door in the wall. The door led to a small room, dusty and old. Inside were shelves filled with scrolls and crystals, many of them covered in dust. "These are our records," she said. "Very few people know about this room. Only the royal family and the oldest historians. Here is where we keep the songs and stories from before the wars." Luke stepped inside, careful not to touch anything. He looked around, amazed. He had never seen anything like it. The room smelled of old paper and crystal, of time itself. Scrolls were stacked carefully, and some had small glowing lights that pulsed slowly. It was beautiful, almost magical. "Do you want to see the song written down?" Alara asked. She moved to a shelf and pulled out a thin scroll. She unrolled it carefully. The notes were strange, written in symbols he could not read, but the melody was clear. Each symbol represented a sound, a rhythm, a note. She pointed to them as she hummed again. Luke listened, following her closely. "It matches perfectly," he said after a moment. "It is exactly the same as what I remember." Alara nodded. "Yes, but only our family should know it. That is why I do not understand how you could know it. You are human." Luke smiled softly. "Maybe some things are meant to be remembered even if the world changes. Maybe songs can survive even when people forget the past. That is what humans do. We remember." Alara looked at him and felt a strange warmth. He was right. Perhaps songs could survive. Perhaps memories could survive. Perhaps even humans could survive in ways that others could not imagine. Days passed and their secret meetings continued. Each time they met, they hummed the song together. Each time it grew stronger, more complete. Alara began to trust Luke more and more. She learned small things about him. He liked simple foods, he liked to read old stories, and he liked to watch the stars at night. He told her about his home on a human world, far across the galaxy. He told her about his family, his grandmother, and the songs she had taught him. Alara told him things too. She told him about the palace, the rules, the loneliness she felt. She told him about her parents and the wars that had separated humans and her people. She told him about the hidden room of scrolls and crystals. Each time they shared something, the trust grew stronger. One evening, while they were humming the song together, a sudden noise startled them. A guard had entered the hall, coming back earlier than expected. Alara froze, Luke froze. The guard stopped, looking at them with suspicion. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Alara thought quickly. "We were checking the lights," she said softly. She pointed to the crystal in her hand, which was glowing faintly. The crystal flickered. "I wanted to make sure it was working." The guard frowned but did not come closer. He nodded and left, muttering something under his breath. Alara let out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. Luke smiled nervously. "That was close," he whispered. "Yes," Alara said. "Too close, we must be more careful." From that night on, they were extremely careful. They met in smaller rooms at times when the palace was almost empty. They whispered and hummed quietly. The song became more than just a melody. It became a bridge between them. It became a secret that only they shared. Alara began to see something new. Humans were not just outsiders. They had memory. They had feeling. They had the ability to remember what others had lost, and perhaps, she thought, they could even be trusted. Luke also began to see something new. Alara was more than a princess. She was brave, curious, and kind. She wanted to learn, to understand, to see the world beyond her palace. And she trusted him with a secret no one else could know. That trust felt like a gift. One evening, after a long session of humming and sharing the song, Alara said quietly, "I want to hear the song as it was sung long ago." "Can you do that?" Luke nodded. "I will try," he said. He hummed softly, then louder, filling the room with the melody. It was not just the song they had shared. It was a deeper version, older, stronger. Alara listened with tears in her eyes. Each note was alive, and for the first time she felt connected not just to the song, but to the history it represented. When it ended, she said softly, This is how it should be remembered. You have given it life again." Luke smiled, feeling proud but also humble. "It was always alive," he said. "We just needed to remember it." Alara looked at him and nodded. In that quiet moment, they both understood something important. Songs could survive. Memories could survive. Trust could survive. And humans and her people, though separated by worlds and wars, could share something that no war, no rule, no time could take away. The secret of the song grew stronger between them. It was no longer just a melody. It was a bond. A secret bond that connected a human and a princess. A bond that might one day change everything. The days passed quietly in the palace, but for Alara, the quiet had changed. She no longer felt lonely. Each day, she looked forward to meeting Luke, to sharing the secret song, to discovering what humans could remember from the past. The melody had become more than a song. It had become a connection, a thread linking her to something she thought was lost forever. Luke had grown more comfortable in the palace as well. He moved carefully, quietly, but he no longer felt like an outsider. He understood the routines, the hidden halls, the way the guards walked in patterns. He had even learned a little of the alien language, just enough to communicate when words were needed. But most of the time, they did not need words. The song said more than words ever could. One afternoon, Alara led Luke to a part of the palace she had never shown anyone before. It was a small garden, hidden behind tall walls of pale stone. The air smelled sweet, with the scent of alien flowers that glowed faintly in the sunlight. A small fountain gurgled in the center, the water sparkling like liquid crystal. "This is my favorite place," Alara said softly. "I come here when I want to think, when I want to remember the past." She looked at Luke, her eyes serious. "I want to show you something more about the song, something you should know." Luke followed her carefully, watching the flowers and listening to the soft gurgle of water. He had never seen a garden like this before. Everything seemed delicate, alive, and peaceful. Alara stopped near the fountain and took a deep breath. The song, it is more than just a melody. It carries memory, history, stories from before the wars. Our people lost much of what we had, and the song is one of the few things that survived. Only the royal family has been allowed to keep it. Luke nodded. "I understand," he said, "and yet somehow I knew it. I remembered it. Maybe humans are better at remembering old things than anyone realizes." Alara looked at him closely. "Yes. That is what I am beginning to understand. Humans do not just carry knowledge of technology or weapons. You carry memory. You carry the past, even when it is forgotten by everyone else. You remember things that even my people have lost." Luke felt a strange pride and a strange humility at the same time. "I never thought of it that way," he said. "I just know songs, I just remember them. I never thought it could mean so much." Alara smiled softly. "It means everything. This song, it is proof that humans and my people were connected long ago, that we shared something before the wars, and now it is returning." For several minutes, they sat quietly in the garden, letting the sound of the fountain and the soft wind fill the space. Then Alara spoke again. "I want you to sing the full song as it was sung long ago. I want to know if it has survived correctly in your memory." Luke took a deep breath and began humming. The notes flowed from him naturally, clear and strong. Alara closed her eyes, listening carefully. Each note matched what she remembered, but there was more to it than that. The song carried feeling, history, and depth. It told a story of joy and loss, of peace and war, of humans and aliens who had once known each other before the galaxy tore them apart. When he finished, Alara opened her eyes slowly. "It is perfect," she whispered. "Every note, every rhythm. You have preserved it better than my family ever could. You have given life back to something we thought was lost forever." Luke smiled softly, but he also looked thoughtful. "If humans can remember this song, what else have we kept alive without knowing it? What other stories, what other knowledge, have survived in ways no one notices?" Alara thought about that. "Perhaps much more than we realize. Perhaps humans have been carrying pieces of history across the galaxy, quietly, waiting for the right time to return them. Perhaps you are not just a technician or a helper. Perhaps you are a keeper of memory." Luke laughed softly. "That sounds important. I am not sure I am ready for that kind of responsibility." Alara shook her head, smiling. "It is not a responsibility you choose. It is something you already do. You remember, you sing, you preserve. That is enough." As the days passed, Alara began to study the song more deeply. She compared it with the old scrolls and crystals in the hidden room. She hummed with Luke each day, noting small differences and subtle shifts in rhythm. Sometimes, the melody seemed to change slightly when he sang it. It was as if the song was alive, growing stronger with each shared note. Then one day, Alara had an idea. "We need to know the full history of the song," she said. Not just the melody, but the meaning. We need to know why it was created, why it was kept secret, and why it survived only with humans and our family. Luke looked at her with curiosity. How do we do that? Alara thought for a moment. There are old historians in the palace. Few of them are left. They know the stories of our people, of the wars, of the ancient connections. If we can find them and convince them, maybe we can discover the full truth. Luke nodded. I will help. We have to be careful. If anyone finds out, it could be dangerous for both of us. Alara smiled. I know, that is why it must be done quietly, secretly. The next evening they met in the hidden room of scrolls and crystals. Alara brought a small lantern that cast a soft light across the shelves. Luke carefully handled some of the older scrolls, reading what he could in his limited understanding of the alien language. Alara hummed softly as she worked, letting the song guide her memory. Hours passed. Slowly, carefully, they pieced together fragments of history. They discovered that the song had been created long before the wars, during a time when humans and her people had traded knowledge, shared stories, and celebrated together. The song had been a symbol of friendship, of hope, and of peace. Then, as conflicts grew and empires clashed, the song was almost lost. The royal family kept it in secret, hiding it in scrolls and memory. And somewhere along the way, humans had also preserved it, carrying it unknowingly across generations. Alara was amazed. This is incredible, she whispered. The song is proof that our peoples were once friends. It is proof that humans were not always outsiders. That we were connected, and now it is returning through you. Luke felt a strange warmth in his chest. I never expected this, he said. I just wanted to do my work, help with the panels, but somehow this song, it brought me here to you, to this place. Alara nodded slowly. Yes, it brought you here, and it will continue to bring us together. The song is more than music. It is memory, it is history, and it is proof that humans and my people can still understand each other even after all the wars. For days, they continued their work. They hummed, they studied, and they compared notes. Each time they sang, the melody became stronger, more complete, and each time they discovered more about the connection between humans and her people. Then one evening, while they were studying, a young historian named Mia entered the room. She looked surprised to see them. Princess, she said softly, I did not expect anyone to be here, and you have brought a human. Alara nodded carefully. Yes, his name is Luke. He knows the song, the old song, the one only the royal family should know. Mia looked at Luke with wide eyes. That is impossible, she whispered. Nobody outside the royal line has ever known that song. Luke nodded. I know, I do not understand it. But I remember it from my family. My grandmother used to hum it. Somehow it survived with us. Mia looked at Alara, then back at Luke. Slowly she smiled. If this is true, then the song has survived in more than one place. That is remarkable. It is proof that humans were part of the history we thought was lost. Alara felt her heart beat faster. Yes, that is exactly what we have discovered, and now we need to share this knowledge carefully. We must study the song, understand its history, and preserve it together. Humans and my people together. Luke smiled, feeling proud but also careful. I will help. I will do everything I can. This song, it is important, and if we can keep it alive, maybe it can change the way our people see each other. Alara nodded. Yes. That is why it is so important. The song is more than a melody. It is hope, and hope can survive even in the darkest times. For the first time, they felt a true partnership forming. The song was no longer just a secret. It was a bridge, a connection, a reminder that even across worlds and wars, humans and her people could understand each other. And so, day by day, note by note, they worked together. They hummed, they studied, and they preserved the song. Each time it grew stronger, fuller, more alive. And with each shared melody, their trust grew deeper, their connection stronger. Alara began to see humans not as outsiders, not as strangers, but as keepers of memory, as guardians of lost history, as friends in ways that even the galaxy could not yet understand. And Luke, for his part, began to see that humans had a role far greater than he had imagined. They could preserve what others had forgotten. They could carry hope, history, and truth across the stars. And perhaps through the song they could help heal the wounds of the past. The song had returned. And with it, the first true connection between princess and human, between their peoples and between past and present, began to grow. The palace was alive with whispers. The royal council had begun to notice small, unusual things. Notes of a song lingered in the halls, faint and almost invisible, but enough for the council members to feel it. They had always believed that only the royal family could know the sacred melodies, yet now there were hints that someone else might be learning them. Princess Alara moved carefully through the palace. She had sensed the tension for days. The song, which had been her secret, was becoming too powerful to hide. The melody echoed not just in her heart, but in the halls, in the hidden rooms, and in Luke's memory. Every time they hummed together, it felt alive, strong, and impossible to contain. Luke worked quietly in the technical halls. He knew he was not a noble. He knew the rules. Humans were not supposed to be involved in royal secrets. Yet he felt drawn to Alara, to the song, to the history they were uncovering. He did not fear the council, but he understood the danger. If they discovered what was happening, both of them could be punished severely. Alara met Luke in the hidden garden one evening. The twin suns had just set, casting soft orange light across the stones. She looked at him with concern. "They are starting to notice," she said quietly. "I can feel it. The council is uneasy. They suspect that something has changed." Luke frowned. "Do you think they know it is me?" "I do not know," she replied. "But it is only a matter of time before they find out. We need a plan. We need to show them carefully what the song is and why it matters." Luke nodded. "I can help, but we need proof, something real. Something they cannot ignore." Alara thought for a moment. Then she smiled slightly. "The song itself is proof. Its history, its memory, the way it has survived, that is stronger than any argument, but we must make them hear it. We must make them see the truth for themselves." The next day, Alara asked Mia, the young historian, to help. Mia was cautious but curious, and she had already seen the work that Alara and Luke had done with the scrolls and the melody. Alara whispered to her, "We need to prepare a demonstration. We must show the council the song, its history, and its power. If we do it right, they will understand. If we fail, we could be punished." Mia nodded. "I understand, Princess, but it will be difficult. The council is proud and they do not like to admit when they are wrong. They may refuse to listen." Alara's eyes hardened with determination. "We will make them listen. This is important, not just for me, but for everyone. The song is proof that humans and our people were connected, that humans are not just outsiders, that they can carry memory, history, and hope across worlds. We cannot hide it any longer." They worked carefully for days. The hidden room became their rehearsal space. Luke hummed, Alara hummed, and Mia recorded the notes, comparing them with the scrolls. Each note was precise, each rhythm perfect. They practiced how to present it, how to explain its history, and how to show that it had survived through both humans and the royal family. Finally, the day came. The royal council gathered in the great hall. The nobles sat in their high seats, their faces stern and skeptical. They looked at Alara with curiosity and suspicion. Whispers ran through the room. A human had been invited, and he claimed to know the sacred song. Alara stepped forward, her hands steady, her heart racing. She nodded to Luke, who stood quietly beside her. He did not speak yet, but he hummed softly, just enough to fill the air with the beginning of the melody. The council stiffened. Some of them recognized the tune instantly. Others looked confused. Alara began to speak. "Honorable Council," she said, her voice calm but strong. "This song has been kept secret for centuries. It belongs to our family, to our people. Yet through human memory it has survived. This human, Luke, remembers it fully. Not by learning from us, not by hearing it secretly, but through memory preserved across generations. This proves that humans carry history. They preserve knowledge that others may forget. Luke stepped forward slowly. His voice was steady. "I do not understand how I know the song," he said. "All I know is that my grandmother taught it to me. She did not know it was sacred here. She only remembered it from long ago. Somehow it survived in my family, and now it has returned." The melody began again, soft at first, then growing stronger. Luke hummed each note carefully. Alara hummed alongside him, guiding the rhythm and the depth of the song. Mia watched from the side, showing the council the scrolls that matched every note, every rhythm, every symbol. The nobles looked at each other, confused, suspicious, and then slowly all began to spread across their faces. They had heard the melody, seen the scrolls, and now they realized something they had never believed possible. The song had survived outside their family. Humans, the outsiders, had preserved it. One council member, an older noble named Taran, leaned forward. This is impossible," he whispered. "Only the royal line, only we, how could a human know it?" Alara looked at him steadily. "It is true," she said. "Humans remember what others forget. They preserve memory across generations. This is not theft. This is proof that they can be trusted, that they carry hope and history across the galaxy." The hall was silent for several moments. The notes of the song lingered, soft and alive, echoing against the walls. The nobles could not deny what they heard. They could not deny what they saw in the scrolls and crystals. Slowly, the tension in the hall began to change. Suspicion turned to wonder and then, for some, to respect. Another noble, younger and more open-minded, whispered, "Perhaps we judged humans too quickly. Perhaps they are more than we thought. Perhaps they can be allies, not just servants or workers." Alara nodded. "Yes. And this song proves it. It is a bridge between our peoples, a connection that survived wars, separation, and time. We can choose to see humans as friends, as keepers of memory, as allies in ways we never imagined." Luke continued humming, and the council listened in silence. The song filled the great hall, alive and strong. For the first time in centuries, the royal family and humans were connected by something more than politics, more than rules, more than fear. They were connected by memory, by melody, by trust. After the song ended, Alara spoke again. "I ask you, council, to consider this carefully. Humans are not just outsiders. They can preserve what we have lost. They can carry hope across the stars. We must work with them, not against them. We must learn from them and we must trust them." The council murmured among themselves. Some still looked skeptical, but the majority were quiet, thinking, understanding. The proof was undeniable. The melody, the scrolls, and the memory of a human had revealed something they had not believed possible. Taran, the older noble, finally spoke. "Princess Alara, your words are strong. The song, it is undeniable. And this human, he has preserved it. Perhaps we must rethink our stance on humans. Perhaps they are more than we imagined." Alara nodded, relieved but cautious. "We must be careful. Trust is earned, not given. But the song is proof that humans can be trusted, that they can carry history, memory, and hope." The council members slowly began to stand, one by one, acknowledging the truth of what they had seen. The room was still tense, but the impossible had been proven. Humans were not merely outsiders. They were keepers of history. They were carriers of memory. And through the song, they had begun to build a bridge between two peoples who had been separated for centuries. After the council meeting, Alara and Luke returned to the hidden garden. The twin moons were rising, casting silver light across the stones. They sat quietly by the fountain, listening to the water and the soft wind. "We did it," Luke said quietly. Alara smiled softly. "Yes, but it is only the beginning. The song is alive, and now the council has seen it. Humans and our people can begin to understand each other again. But we must be careful. There are still those who will resist." Luke nodded. I understand, but we have made the first step. The melody has survived, and so have we. Alara reached out and touched the crystal in her hand. Yes, and the melody will continue. It will grow stronger. And perhaps one day, it will remind the galaxy that memory, trust, and hope are more powerful than fear, wars, or separation. They sat in silence for a long time, letting the quiet and the stars fill the space around them. The palace was no longer just a place of rules and duty. It was a place where the past and present met, where humans and her people could connect, and where hope could live again. For the first time in centuries, the melody was not a secret. It was proof. Proof that humans could be trusted, proof that memory could survive, proof that hope could exist even in the darkest places. And Alara and Luke had brought it back to life. The palace felt different that morning. The halls no longer seemed cold or empty. There was a sense of quiet anticipation, as if the walls themselves were aware that something important had begun. Princess Alara moved through the corridors with calm determination. Today was the day the song would fully reveal its power, not just to the council, but to everyone who had doubted humans. Luke walked beside her, careful but confident. He had rehearsed the melody countless times with Alara and Mia. He knew every note by heart, every rhythm, every nuance. Yet he still felt nervous. This was not just a song now. It was proof, history, and hope, and today it would reach far beyond the hidden rooms. Alara paused in the grand hall. The council members were already seated, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and caution. The nobles whispered quietly among themselves, trying to predict what the princess intended. They had seen a glimpse of the song before, but today they would hear it fully. Alara raised her hand, signaling for silence. The hall grew quiet. The only sound was the soft rustle of robes and the faint hum of the palace crystals. She turned to Luke. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Luke nodded. "I am ready. Let's show them." He took a deep breath and began humming. The melody flowed from him naturally, clear and full. Alara joined him, her voice weaving with his, strengthening the harmony. Mia stood nearby, presenting the scrolls and crystals that contained the song's history. Each note echoed in the hall, filling every corner with warmth, with memory, and with power. The council members listened in silence. Some recognized the song instantly. Some had never heard anything like it. Slowly, their skepticism began to melt. They could not deny what they heard. The melody was alive, precise, and full of meaning. It was more than music. It was a story, a history, a bridge between humans and Alara's people. Taran, the older noble, leaned forward. "It is true," he whispered. "The song, it has survived outside the royal line. This human, he has preserved it." Alara nodded. "Yes, Luke has preserved it, and it proves something important. Humans are not outsiders. They can remember, they can carry history, and they can protect what we have lost. They are not here to take from us. They are here to help us remember." A younger noble spoke next, his voice trembling. "This changes everything. We have underestimated humans for centuries. We thought they were weak, simple, untrustworthy. But this proves that we were wrong." Luke continued humming, his voice strong and steady. The song grew fuller, deeper, reaching the high windows and bouncing against the walls. The nobles felt it in their hearts, a connection they could not explain. The melody carried feelings of joy, sorrow, hope, and trust. It reminded them of a past they had forgotten, of peace before the wars, of connections that had been lost. Alara stepped forward. "The song is not just a melody," she said. "It is memory, it is history. And it is proof that humans and our people can work together, that we can trust each other, that we can preserve what is most important, even across worlds, even across generations." Some nobles nodded slowly, others whispered to each other. The council was no longer skeptical. They were listening, truly listening to what the melody was saying. Taran finally spoke aloud, his voice firm. "Princess Alara, this song, it is undeniable. It proves that humans carry memory, history, and understanding. They are not outsiders, they are partners. They are guardians of what has been lost. Alara smiled softly. Yes, and it is not just proof for the Council, it is proof for everyone in the galaxy. Humans are more than weapons or laborers. They are keepers of hope, of history, and of connection. The melody ended softly, lingering in the air like a gentle wind. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then slowly the nobles began to clap, not loudly but respectfully, carefully. They understood what had been shown to them. They could not deny it. Humans had preserved what had been thought lost. Luke exhaled, a mixture of relief and pride filling him. He looked at Alara. She smiled at him, her eyes shining. "We did it," she whispered. "We showed them. We preserved the song, and we proved the truth." Mia nodded, her face serious but proud. "Yes, and now the real work begins. We must teach others carefully. The melody must survive. The history must survive. Humans and your people must learn to trust each other fully." Alara took a deep breath. "We will. And it will not be easy. There are still those who will resist. But today we have taken the first step, and the song will guide us." Word of the demonstration spread quickly throughout the palace and beyond. Humans who had been dismissed as simple workers were now seen differently. The melody of the song traveled across the walls, through the halls, and into the minds of all who heard it. It reminded them of what had been lost and of what could be regained. In the following days, Alara continued to meet with Luke. They hummed together, shared the melody with trusted nobles, and slowly, carefully, allowed the song to be remembered across the palace. Each time it was sung, it grew stronger, fuller, and more alive. Each time, humans and aliens began to see each other not as enemies, but as partners, as friends, as keepers of memory. One evening, Alara and Luke stood in the hidden garden. The twin moons cast silver light across the flowers and fountain. They were quiet, listening to the soft hum of the night. "The song is alive," Alara said softly, "and so are we. We have brought it back and it will continue to grow." Luke smiled. "Yes, and it will connect us and our peoples in ways we cannot yet imagine. We have proven that memory and hope can survive, even when the world changes." Alara reached out and touched his hand. "I never thought a human could understand what was most sacred to my people, but you did. You have preserved it, and you have helped me see the truth. Humans are more than we realized, and maybe we can change the galaxy together." Luke squeezed her hand gently. "I believe we can, one song at a time." They hummed together again softly, letting the melody fill the night. The flowers in the garden glowed faintly, the water in the fountain sparkled, and the palace seemed to breathe with them. The song was no longer a secret. It was a bridge, a bond, and a promise. Across the galaxy, humans and aliens began to listen. Slowly, carefully, trust grew. The wars of the past faded in memory, replaced by understanding. The melody traveled from planet to planet, reminding everyone that history could survive, that hope could survive, and that humans could be more than outsiders. Alara and Luke continued their work, their friendship growing stronger with each day. They shared stories, songs, and memories. They taught others the melody, showing how it carried history, hope, and trust. And with each note, the galaxy learned something important. Humanity's greatest power was not weapons or technology. It was memory, empathy, and the ability to keep hope alive, even across worlds. The palace no longer felt empty. The halls were filled with song, with laughter, and with the quiet joy of discovery. Alara hummed softly, and Luke joined her. Together, they carried the melody forward, a living proof that humans and aliens could connect, understand, and trust each other. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt alive with possibility. A human and a princess had restored something that had been lost, and through them, the future looked brighter. The song was no longer just history. It was life, hope, and the beginning of a new era. And as the twin moons shone above the palace, Alara whispered softly to Luke, "The song will never be forgotten, and neither will we." Luke smiled and hummed the melody with her. and together they let the music carry them, the palace and the galaxy into a future of trust, memory, and hope.